We continue now at the top of Daf Chaf Aleph on Mesechet Kesuvos. This is Kesuvos Daf 21b. The Gemara here continues along the same lines as the halachic ruling that was given on the previous Amud. Ikla Rav Noi Achud Rav Chia bar Abba. So Rav Noi, the brother of Rav Chia bar Abba, he went lemizvan shumshami to sell sesame. V'yamar, and he said the following when he came. He said as follows: Hachi Amar Shmuel, so says Shmuel, Eid v'dayan mitzdarfin. The same halach as we said in the previous Amud. If you have a witness and a judge, they can be mitzdarif to certify a shtar. Again, the Eid is going to be testifying on the Monish of a shtar, and the Dayan is testifying that he was there when this shtar was certified. And so the Gemara continues along the same lines as the previous Amud. Amar Ameimar, so Ameimar said when he heard this, Kama Ma'alya Hashmaita, how great is this halachic ruling? How great is this teaching? Amar Le Rav Ashi Le Ameimar, so Rav Ashi said to Ameimar, Mishum de Kalsa Avua de Imach, just because the father of your mother praised this, that was on the previous Amud, Rami Bar Chama praised this halacha, At Nami Mekalstle Law, you're also praising it. Kfar Parcha Rava, Rava already refuted it. Again, that was the refutation of Rava on the previous Amud, that how could they join together? They're testifying on different things. Again, the Eid is testifying on the Monish of Ishtar, the Dayan is testifying that he saw that it was certified, that the signatures were certified. Those are not the same things, and therefore that testimony cannot be joined together. And the Gemara continues at the two dots. Amar Rav Safra, Amar Rami bar Abba, Amar Rav Yitzchak bar Shmuel bar Marasa, Amar Rav Huna. Rav Safra says that Rabbi Abba said, that Rav Yitzchak bar Shmuel bar Marasa said, that Rav Huna said, V'amri lo, some have the version as follows, Amar Rav Huna Amar Rav, that Rav Huna said, in the name of Rav as follows. Shlosha sheyoshvu l'kayim es hashtar. Let's say you have three people, and they're sitting as a court in order to certify a shtar. Rashi over here says, l'kayim hashtar v'lo hadoas edim, and they do not have witnesses over here, shayidu al ksav yadin, who are testifying on their signatures. Lefisha hadayonin atzman makir nosa. The case is that the judges themselves, they recognize hashnayim makir nosa. Two of the judges recognize the signatures. V'yachadeno makir, but there happens to be one of the three judges that does not recognize the signature. That's the case over here. Again, shlosha sheyoshvu l'kayim es hashtar. Three judges are sitting to certify a shtar. Shnayim makir and chasimus yidei edim v'yachadeno makir. Two of them recognize the signatures and one does not. So ad shelo chasmu. So before they actually sign, me'idin b'fanav, they can testify in front of the third judge, v'chosim, and then he can sign as well and certify the shtar. But misha chasmu, but once they sign and once they ratify the shtar, so ein me'idin b'fanav v'chosim. They can no longer testify in front of him and have him sign as well. As Rashi over here says, ad shelo chasmu hashnayim ala henpik. Before the two of them sign the henpik, again the henpik is the certification of the shtar. Me'idin lifnei hashlishi. They can testify before the third judge that this is in fact the actual signature, the actual handwriting of those who signed. And then he can sign together with them on what they're writing below. Again, that's the certification of the shtar. Asher Noi, V'kaimenoi, the shtar that we're certifying. We're saying the shtar is good. Denan shtara, denan b'mos of tlasa, in front of three people here. Because now again they've let it be known that this is the signature. These are the proper signatures of the witnesses. But Rashi continues, Mishachasmu ein me'idin. However, once they sign, they can't testify anymore. The chasima kamaisa b'shikra have it, because if they originally sign, that actually was a lie. Why? Delav tlasa have it, because they didn't have yet three people. In other words, in the statement that they're writing, it's that three judges are certifying the shtar. But if they didn't yet testify in front of the third one, they can't possibly sign that. So that's not going to be good. But the Gemara continues, Umikasvinan, but forget about them signing it. Can we even write the statement before you testify before the third one? As Rashi over here says, Umikasvinan lasharta didei bitmiya, can you really write this asharta? V'chikodem sheneskaim lefnei shloshtem, before you've actually certified in front of all three, yikasvu b'mosav talasa havina v'shtomadana v'chulu, you can write this statement over here that you're actually certifying the shtar. That doesn't make sense. V'yomer of Papi mishmei de Rava, but Rav Papi said in the name of Rava, hayasharta dedaini, this again, this kind of certification of the judges, the nichtav mekame de nichvu sahadi achasimis yudayu. If it's written before the witness is actually testifying their signatures, psula, it's actually disqualified. The mischazi kashikra, because that looks like a lie. Hachanami mischazi kashikra, here also doesn't it look like a lie? And so the Gemara changes it slightly. Ela ema, rather the statement of Rav should be as follows: Ad shelo kasu, if before they actually write the certification of the shtar, me'idin b'fanav, they testify in front of the other judge, v'chosem, and then that's okay, then he could sign along with them. But Misha Kazva, once they already wrote it, that's already too late. Now they wrote down something that really wasn't true. So Ein Me'idin B'fanav, they're no longer allowed to testify in front of him, V'chosem, and he cannot sign along with them. And the Gemara continues and says, Shmamina to lo shmamina. You see from this ruling above three separate halachas. Number one, you see Eid Nasa Dayan. You see that a witness can also be a judge. As Rashi over here says, Eid Nasa Dayan, Sharei Hashnayim Heidu ala Chasimas, because that's exactly what's happening. Two of these people are testifying on the signatures, and then they're also acting as judges. Ushmamina, and the Gemara says further, Dayanin Hamakir and Chasimas Yedei Eidim. Let's say you have judges who recognize the signatures of the Eidim. Einon Srichin Lahoid B'fneim. There is no need to testify in front of them. Ushmamina, and you also see Dayanin She'ein Makir and Chasimas Yedei Eidim, that if you have judges on the panel who do not recognize all the signatures, Tzrichin Lahoid B'fnei Kol Echad V'Echad. You need to testify before each one individually. Rashi over here says, Tzrichin Lahoid B'fnei Kol Echad V'Echad Shem Heidu B'fnei Hashnayim. Let's say they testify in front of two of them. Ein Hagimel Yochol Lachsam. The third one can't testify if he didn't have if the witnesses did, the third one can't sign rather, if they didn't testify in front of the third one as well. Because that's what's happening over here. The two people who know the signatures, they need to testify in front of the third. That third one can't sign unless he hears the testimony, and that's the idea you see over here, that again you need to testify before each and every judge. And the Gemara now questions whether we really derive all three of these things from the ruling above. Ma'azgiflo Ravashi asks as follows. Bishlama Eid Nasa Dayan Shaminan Mina. First of all, I understand that you see Eid Nasa Dayan. That is exactly what's happening in our case. Two of the three judges are acting both as witnesses and judges. Ela Dayanin Hamakir and Chasimas Yedei Eidim Ein Tzrichin Lahoi B'fneim. But you're learning out that if you have judges who recognize the signatures, so then you don't need to testify in front of them. That might not be true. Maybe really I can tell you tzrichin, that really the Eidim do need to testify in front of such judges. V'shani hacha, but it's different over here. Because really, since the two judges are testifying in front of the third judge, so therefore really they are sort of hearing testimony because they themselves are testifying. And so therefore maybe it's as if someone testifying in front of them. Maybe here it's a little different. Rashi over here says, maybe you do need to testify. It's not called Eidus unless you testify. But here, there is a testimony happening. The two judges are testifying in front of the one judge, and therefore maybe it's okay. And Rav Ashi continues and says, "V'dayon and shein makir and chasimas yedei edim." You said that we learned out from this ruling that if you have judges who don't recognize the signatures, so tzrichin lahoid b'fnei kol echad ve'echad. So every single judge, you need to testify in front of that judge. So again, Rav Ashi questions this and says, "Dil maliola mei malach." Maybe really I'll tell you, ein tzrichin. There is no need to testify in front of every single judge. V'shani hacha, but it's different over here. Delo kamekayma hagad klal, because here there is no testimony at all if they don't testify in front of this judge. As Rashi over here says, over here you have two judges who know the signature. If they don't testify in front of the third judge, then there's no one testifying about this shtar in front of any judge. And so that's why maybe over here you have to testify in front of the third judge, but maybe in a normal situation, if you have testimony happening, let's say Eidim come in and testify in front of two of the three judges, maybe it's not required to testify in front of that third judge. And the Gemara continues, Yosef Rabbi Abba v'kamar lo l'hoshmaita. Rabbi Abba was sitting and he said over this ruling, the Eid Nasa Dayan, that a witness can also act as a judge. So Eizvei Rav Safra Rabbi Abba. So Rav Safra asked Rabbi Abba the following question. The Mishnah in Rosh Hashanah says, Ra'u shlosha v'hein bezdin. Let's say three people, they see the new moon and they are a bezdin. They are three people that can comprise a bezdin. So what should they do? So Yamdu Shnayim, so two of them should get up and they should be the witnesses. V'yoshiva mechavreim etzel hayachid, and then they should get some other friends of theirs to sit by the other person, that third person. V'ya'idu b'fneim, and they should testify in front of these three people. So two of them will act as witnesses, and then they'll have three people that will act as the judges. V'yomru mekudesh hachodesh mekudesh, and they say the new month, it should be sanctified. Shein hayachin neman al yedei atzmam, because an individual is not able to be mekadesh the chodesh alone. That's why we need to have more people, so we have a bezdin of three people. And so now the Gemara asks, now if you really think that an aid can also act as a judge, so lamali kuli hai, what do you need to do all this for? Why do you need to have two of them be witnesses and testify in front of three people? Leizvud b'duchtayu, let them just sit in their regular places. V'likdashi, and let them just sanctify it themselves. They'll be the aidim and they'll also be the judges. As Rashi over here says, Leizvud b'duchtayu achar sheyidu b'fanav, let them just testify in front of this last one. Two of them will testify in front of one of them, and then they'll all just sit down, and again they'll be mekadesh the chodesh through Eid Nasa Dayan. And so the Gemara says, Amar Le, he said back to him, Aflu didi kashali, I also had the same question. Ushilde l'Rav Yitzchak bar Shmuel bar Marasa, and I asked the question to Rav Yitzchak bar Shmuel bar Marasa. Rav Yitzchak l'Rav Huna, and Rav Yitzchak asked Rav Huna the question. Rav Huna l'chia barav, and Rav Huna asks Chia barav the question. V'chia barav l'Rav, and Chia barav asks Rav that question. V'yamar lahu, and he answered them as follows: Hanach le'edus hachodesh doraisa. Leave aside kiddush hachodesh, edus hachodesh when we're testifying on the new moon, because that's doraisa. So they were more strict. They were not going to rely on eid nasa dayan. V'kiyim shtaros derabanan. But when it comes to certification of shtaros, that's only a din derabanan, and therefore, since it's only a din derabanan, so we're going to rely on eid nasa dayan. And the Gemara continues: Amar Rabbi Abba, Amar Rav Huna, Amar Rav. Rabbi Abba says in the name of Rav Huna, in the name of Rav, Shlosha sheyashvu l'kayim es hashtar. Again, you have three people, and they're sitting to ratify a shtar. They're acting as a bezdin. V'kara ira al echad mehen, and then somebody comes and protests on one of them and says this person is not fit to be a judge. So ad shelo chasmu. So if it's before they actually signed, Rashi over here says ad shelo chasmu hashnei dayonim al hasharta. If it's before the two judges sign this ratification, so then what they can do is as follows: Me'idin olav, they can testify about him, about the third judge. They can testify that he's fit to be a judge. As Rashi says, Me'idin al zeshu kosher. They can testify about this guy that he is kosher. V'chosim, and then they can sign, it's not a problem. But mishachasmu, but once they sign the ratification of the shtar, as Rashi says, mishachasmu havilu nogan be'edus. At that point, they become nogea be'edus, because now they're invested over here. They've already decided, they've already signed and ratified the shtar. Shegnailam sheyashvum psul bedin. It's going to be really degrading for them that they're sitting with somebody who's disqualified. So at this time, they're already nogea bedavar, they're biased. So once they sign ein me'idin olav, they're not allowed to testify anymore about the third judge. V'chosam, again, they're not allowed to testify about the third judge and have him sign. And the Gemara now says, Irir demai. The Gemara says exactly what kind of protest was made on this third judge. Irir degazlanu. So if the protest is that this guy is a thief and that's why he can't be a judge, and we'll continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Chav Beis Amud Aleph.